I thought it was very informative and instructional, entertaining as well.
They had better come see it. It's great.
It's an excellent presentation of all aspects of falling.
I thought it was wondrous for all of us, and it can help us to stay alive longer too.
Oh, it was just wonderful. As you get older, you know, you have falls, and you can think about what you're going to do, and this prepares you for that.
Very informative on how to safely fall.
Oh, definitely. Get information for this, because everyone goes through this sometime or another. Whether you trip over your kids' toys or going downstairs.
I thought it was very instructive. I learned a lot of ways how to fall.
And how to recover once you're down.
Because I was taking care of my 96-year-old mother and didn't know how to get her up. I volunteered for a hospice. We weren't allowed to help anybody out because we didn't have the right techniques, and we were told not to. So this has been great.
I think it'd be a good investment in protection for themselves and loved ones to be aware of fall prevention as well as how to handle a fall. Very, very well done.
When I started this, my balance was very, very poor. I was in danger all the time of falling, and occasionally did. And now I'm strong and I'm in good balance, and I walk every day, and I have a good time in life because I'm not thinking about dying. I'm thinking more about living and enjoying it. Well, the results I've achieved is a great, massive improvement in my balance. My strength is stronger, especially my legs and arms, so that I don't fall because I'm strong enough to recover when I do have problems. And I'm now much more relaxed because I don't have to worry about falling. And my arms are stronger, so that if I should fall, I can get up now and I won't have any trouble doing it. I learned a lot about my physical structure, which muscles I need to use, which muscles I need to exercise regularly. And I also learned how to fall safely. I learned how to get up with help or without help. In almost any place, I don't worry about it anymore because I know I can get up. That's because I've learned how to do it, and because I'm stronger. And I have a really good time exercising. I look forward to it because it's a fun time. Not a straight face, but it's serious, and it solved my problem. You could really prolong your life and feel good while you're doing it because it gives you a lot of confidence that you know what to do. Get off your rear end and get with it because it's really worth it. I exercise all together, both at home and here in the gym, about an hour a day, plus I walk some, and I get all the other 22 and some hours to be well and happy and enjoying life.
Hello, my name is Tim Rabatoy. I'm a strength and conditioning specialist and the creator of the Falling Solution System. I'll be your host today. This is the most complete resource on falling skills, fall recovery techniques, and fall prevention exercise and conditioning available anywhere in the world. I'd like to welcome you to the Falling Solution System. In Section 1, we're going to talk about falling statistics. Like, for instance, did you know that over 90% of hip fractures are caused by falls? I'll give you a lot more. In Section 2, falling techniques, I'll show you how to fall down in any direction to minimize your chances of getting hurt in a fall. In falling techniques, I'll be demonstrating how to fall forwards, sideways, and backwards as safely as possible, and I'll show you techniques that you can use at a moment's notice while you're actually falling to help protect yourself from a serious fall-related injury. In section 3, floor techniques, I'll be showing you exactly what to do step by step if you've taken a hard fall. In floor techniques, you'll learn how to check yourself for injuries after a fall, how to roll over safely, and how to move on the floor or the ground after a fall over any surface in any situation. In section 4, fall recovery techniques, I'll show you how to get off the floor anytime, anywhere. In fall recovery techniques, you'll learn over 20 ways to get yourself off the floor using your environment or nothing at all. And I'll take you through 11 different indoor and outdoor falling scenarios so you'll know exactly what to do if you fall in any environment. And in section 5, we'll be talking about fall prevention techniques, how to prevent falls and how to minimize your chances of falling. In fall prevention techniques, you'll learn falling risk factors and how to make your home environment safer, how to adjust canes and walkers for safety. You'll learn how to pick a good pair of shoes to prevent falls, and we'll also discuss the importance of exercise in fall prevention. The Falling Solution System also includes 2 special bonus sections. Bonus Section 1 is a fall prevention exercise library. I've included demonstrations of the most effective exercises that I've used with my own patients over the years. With these exercises, you can build and maintain the strength and balance you need to prevent falls and get off the floor every single time. Bonus Section 2 is a complete fall prevention exercise routine. I've taken all the exercises from Bonus 1 and organized them into 3 easy to follow along workouts that you can do at home anytime to start making yourself fall proof right away. Section 1, falling statistics, coming up next. Welcome to Falling Statistics. I wanted to start off by giving you some facts about falling to demonstrate how dangerous falling really is and what a serious health threat it's become in our society. In the next 17 seconds, an older adult will be treated in a hospital emergency room for a fall-related injury. Falls are the leading cause of injury to people over the age of 65. Over 90% of all hip fractures are caused by falls. In the US in 2009, there were over 271,000 hip fractures. Over half of the older adults that are discharged for a fall-related hip fracture will fall again within 6 months. More than 1 out of 5 hip fracture patients dies within a year of their injury. Over 40% of all nursing home admissions are the result of a fall-related injury. 40% of the people admitted to a nursing home never return to independent living again for the rest of their lives. 87% of all the fractures in the elderly are due to falls. Older adults are hospitalized 5 times more often for fall-related injuries than any other kind of injury. Falls are the leading cause of injury death to people over the age of 65. In just the US alone, in the next 30 minutes, an older adult will die from a fall-related injury. Older adults 75 and over are 5 times more likely to sustain a serious fall-related injury than those between the ages of 65 and 75. Men are more likely to die from a fall-related injury than women. The death rate from falling in 2009 was 34% higher for men than it was for women. But women are twice as likely to sustain a fall-related fracture than men. And women are 3 times more likely to sustain a fall-related hip fracture than men are. Falls are the #1 cause of traumatic brain injuries. In 2000, traumatic brain injuries from falling accounted for 46% of fall-related deaths. More than 1/3 of the population over the age of 65 falls each and every year. Over half of the population over the age of 80 falls each and every year. Fall-related injuries are one of the biggest reasons for loss of physical independence, but they're also one of the biggest reasons for loss of financial independence. Fall-related injuries are also one of the leading causes of bankruptcy among older adults. Medicare costs for hip fractures alone by the year 2040 are expected to be $240 billion. The average cost of a fall-related injury among older adults is over $19,000, not including physician services. About 40% of people over 65 have fear of falling. People who limit their activities and exercise now out of a fear of falling actually increase their chances of a serious fall-related injury later on. Okay, now that you know how devastating falls and fall-related injuries can be, let's get on with the solution. The next part of this video will show you how to fall down in every direction to minimize your chances of a serious injury. Section 2, Falling Techniques, coming up next. Welcome to Ridge Physical Therapy in Paradise, California. What we're going to do right now is look at falling techniques. Now, when it comes to falling down, you need instant techniques. You need things you can apply at a moment's notice to protect yourself from a dangerous fall. And that's exactly what the falling techniques and the falling solution system are all about. We're going to look at how to fall down in any direction without getting hurt, starting with falling forward. Coming up. Now, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of examples on how to fall forward in just a moment, but let me give you a little background. If you're falling forwards, if you're falling down in a forward direction, what you want to do to protect yourself is bend your elbows and with your hands open, keep your hands out in front of your face just about a foot. Just like that. Pretend this wall here was the ground and I was falling in a forward direction towards it. Okay, with the technique that I just showed you, by putting your hands out in front of your face with your palms open, here's the idea. As you're falling towards the ground, what you want to do is to make contact first with the flat part of your hands. So that's your point of contact, the flat part of your hands. So as you fall forward, you'll put your hands out, try to make contact, and the rest of your body is going to come down right on top of that. The safest way to fall in a forward position is on this flat part of your arms with your hands out in front of your face. Who's ever fallen forward? Fallen kind of on their face at some point in their life, right? Okay. Now, there's a technique to doing everything, as you probably noticed. There's techniques to falling properly without getting hurt, and I'm going to cover those right now. Now, if you're falling forward, what you want to do is put your hands in front of your face. And of course, I'm going to be demonstrating full blast on the floor. I'm not going to stand up here and talk about what to do. I'm going to fall on the floor, full blast, no pads. I want everyone to stomp on the floor hard one time. One more time. Who thinks that floor is hard enough to break something on? Hard enough to break a hip or an arm or a finger or a wrist? Okay? What if I just fell down right now? Now, what I'm doing is coming down on the flat part of my hands. If you extend your hands in front of your face, 1 foot, look what I'm coming down on. It's all flat. You come down on your wrists, what happens? Snap, right? You come down on your elbows, what happens? Snap, right? You come down on this flat part of your body, boom. when we're falling, we don't just keel over. Okay? We usually trip on something. So we're moving with a little momentum. Blah, 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 we're talking on the phone. It's an action-packed seminar, okay? There won't be any boredom in here. Welcome to part 2 of Falling Techniques, How to Fall Sideways Without Getting Hurt. Now, just like in part 1, I'll show you a bunch of demonstrations on how to actually fall sideways, but I'll give you some interesting statistics first. According to a recent hip study, for men, sideways falls were associated with 15 times greater risk for hip fractures than forward falls. And according to the same study, falling sideways for women was associated with 13 times greater risk for hip fractures than falling forward. According to the CDC, 90% of all hip fractures are caused by falling on or near the hip. Now, this is a quote from another recent broken hip study, and it'll lead us directly into our falling sideways technique. Fall direction was a much stronger predictor for increased hip fracture than low bone strength. When a fall occurs, changing fall direction may be the most effective method of preventing hip fractures. So as we've already talked about, 90% of all hip fractures happen because of contact directly on or near the hip. So when we're falling sideways, the last thing we want is to have contact directly to the hip. So our falling sideways technique is completely based on changing fall direction quickly to avoid landing on the hip. Now I'll give you a bunch of demonstrations here in just a moment, but here's a little background on falling sideways. Okay, the last thing we want is contact directly on the hip. So if we're falling sideways, let's say we're falling to the left in my case, if we're falling sideways, you can see what's going to happen if I turn my body away from the direction that I'm falling. If I'm falling to the left and I turn my body to the right, you can see what's going to happen. I'm going to fall directly on this hip, and that's the last thing we want. So here's the big idea. As I'm falling to the left, what I actually want to do, instead of turning my body away from the fall, I want to turn in the direction of the fall. So if I'm falling to the left, what I'll do quickly is turn my body so that I can turn that sideways fall into a forward fall. Now, by turning your body in the direction of your sideways fall, what you're actually doing is greatly minimizing the chances of a broken hip. When you turn your upper body, your lower body will rotate with you. So the whole idea behind the technique is to turn the dangerous sideways fall into a much safer forward fall. Remember the statistics that I told you at the beginning of the section. For women and for men, between 13 and 15 times greater risk for hip fracture lies in falling directly on your side. So by turning in the direction of your fall and making the sideways fall into a safer forward fall, you're essentially taking down the chances of a broken hip by between 13 and 15 times. How is a hip really broken? Okay? Generally speaking, if you're falling forward, it's almost impossible to break your hip. Okay? You're not going to get a broken hip by falling on your face. Okay? What's going to happen is if you're falling sideways and you land right here, when people talk about a broken hip, we're not talking about the pelvis. Like when people put their hands on their hips up here, the hip is actually that part of your femur bone. Okay? Your femur bone is this big upper thigh bone here. Okay? As you know, it's got a ball and socket joint that goes in. When people break their hip, generally speaking, it's right in and around that ball joint, right on the side. So if you land right on your hip, that's the best way to break it. So if you're falling sideways, if I was to fall to the right and turn this way, what's going to hit the ground first?
Your hip.
My hip, right? So let's say I'm falling sideways. Oh no. Look at my feet. They're straight down. Right? Now, if you're falling sideways, you want to turn into your fall. When a fall occurs, changing fall direction may be the most effective to prevent hip fractures. How does that tie into our falling sideways technique? We're doing exactly that. We're changing direction. You want to break your hip? Come right down on your side, okay? You don't want to do that. So if you feel yourself even momentarily falling to the side, the mistake would be to turn away from your fall. So just like with the falling forward, the quick tip was put your hands in front of your face. This is almost exactly the same. You fall to the side, you turn into your fall. So if you're falling to the left, you turn your body to the left. And it's exactly the same technique as the falling forward. So if you know how to fall forward, you know how to fall sideways, right? So let's fall sideways, okay? Okay? You see something in common here? Mistake would be, if I'm falling to the right, would be to turn to the left. If I'm falling to the right, turn your body to the right and land in that forward fall position. Now, I'll do it one more time. This is going to prove a point. Now, your body will turn with you, okay? So you're not going to turn your body like this, and your lower body's not going to stay like this. It's going to turn with you, okay? I'll do this to prove a point. I'll tie my legs together, okay? And I'll do the same thing. I'm going to fall to the side. I'm not going to untwist my legs. I'm just going to turn and fall to the side. See my feet? They come untangled. You come forward, you don't land on the side of your hip, okay? Big key to not breaking your hip right there. So, if you can turn into your fall, your chance of breaking your hip just went down 15 times. Okay? Now, everyone still breathing here?
Yeah. We're glad you are.
part 3 of falling techniques, how to fall backwards without getting hurt. In the first part of the section, we talked about how to fall forwards. In the second part of the section, we talked about how to fall sideways by turning your sideways fall into a safer forward fall. But when we're falling backwards, we don't have that option anymore. We're not going to be able to fall backwards and turn all the way around and turn it into a forwards fall. So we need a totally different technique. Just like with the other parts of the section, I'm going to give you demonstrations that show you exactly how to do it. But before then, I want to give you a little bit of background about falling backwards. There's 5 big mistakes, 5 deadly sins of falling backwards that people tend to make that lead to injury, and then I'll show you how our falling technique for falling backwards provides a solution for each one. Now, mistake number 1 when people are falling backwards is locking the knees. So if you're falling backwards, what you don't want to do is lock your knees. When you do that, you're maximizing the chances of coming down backwards on one of those exposed hip bones. Now, just like falling sideways, we want to avoid at all costs coming down directly on the hip. Whether that's sideways or from the rear, it's still a chance of breaking your hip. That's what we don't want. So mistake number 1 is locking your knees. Mistake number 2 when falling backwards is reaching up with the hands. Almost like you're reaching up to grab something that's not there. Okay? When you do that, what you're doing is making your body bigger. You're making yourself taller. Okay? The taller you make yourself, the further you're going to come down. Mistake number 2 is reaching up with the hands. Mistake number 3 that people tend to make when falling backwards is actually really common. I think all of us at some time in our life have probably done it. Reaching back with your hands. So as you're falling backwards, what you don't want to do is reach back with your hands. That's a really good way to break your wrists. The falling technique that I'll show you in just a moment for falling backwards shows you exactly what to do with your hands, but what you don't want to do is reach back. So mistake number 3, reaching back with the hands. Mistake number 4 that people tend to make is holding on to their stuff while they're falling backwards. Now, the falling technique I'll show you in a moment shows you exactly how to use your hands to break your fall. What you don't want to do is hold on to your stuff. If you're falling backwards, unless you're holding on to your baby or something, you want to drop your stuff, and I'll show you why in a moment. And mistake number 5, and perhaps the most deadly, is leaning back with the head, like this. In 2000, 46% of all fatalities from falling came from traumatic brain injury. So mistake number 5 is leaning back with the head. Now I'll give you several demonstrations of how our falling backwards technique works in just a moment, but here's the main idea you want to remember. When you're falling backwards, the main thing you want to remember is bend your knees or sit into your fall. By sitting into your fall or bending your knees, what you're doing is effectively reducing the distance between you and the ground as you're falling. The higher you are up, the further you're going to fall, the harder you're going to hit. By sitting down, by bending your knees, you're reducing that impact. When you're falling backwards, you not only want to bend your knees, you also want to use your hands to break the fall. Falling backwards. Everyone's done it. Okay. Now we talked about broken hips. Falling sideways onto the hip, I'd say, is the number 1 best way to break your hip. So if you're going to fall sideways and land right on this sideways, that's probably your number 1 best way to break it, which we don't want. Okay. Now falling backwards, it's the same bone. If I fall at an oblique angle, like this, what's going to hit first? The hip, again, right? It's still exposed. Same thing this way, okay? So either sideways or kind of sideways at an angle is bad. If you're falling backwards, am I going to have you try to turn all the way around?
No.
No, I'm not. Okay. I mentioned all those deadly sins of falling, and I'll tie them all into the same instant technique. So if I'm falling backwards, we don't want to bend the knees, or we don't want to lock the knees. We don't want to lean back with the head. We don't want to reach up with the hands. We don't want to lead back with the head. And we don't want to reach back with the hands. So I would bend my knees, come falling down. Okay, what I'm going to do with my hands, I'll show you how to use those. I want to do this several times so you can kind of get the feel for it, okay? What we'll do is as you're falling back, you bend your knees, bring your hands down, palms down, flat to break your fall, okay? So I'm just going to fall, just like that, okay? What you're doing by doing this, I don't know if any of you have ever taken judo or anything like that. What they teach you the first day, because they throw each other all over the place, right? What they teach you the first day is how to break your fall. So as you get tossed, they show you how to use your hand one way or use your hand the other way. This is the same idea. As you're falling down, what I'm going to do is just bend my knees. I'm obviously not leaning back like this. I'm going to tuck my chin. Luckily, most people tend to naturally do a little bit of that. Okay? We kind of intuitively know not to bang our head, but bend the knees. Just like that. Generally speaking, when people fall backwards, they usually trip over something, and they usually have stuff in their hands. Okay, so if I was talking on my cell phone, going backwards, blah, 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 blah. It's the same thing. Quick bend to the knees, bring your hands down, and you can do it again and again and again. Here's the idea with bending the knees. Okay? Now, I mentioned in the beginning how if you're getting straight and getting really tall, if I was to fall backwards like this, which I'm not going to do, okay, I would maximize the impact to my head. By simply bending my knees, I'm cutting the impact down by 50%. Okay? So if you find yourself falling, just sit down. That's the quick tip. Just don't worry about all the other stuff. Just bend your knees. If you're falling back, just bend your knees. And no matter what, remember, you're falling anyway. You're going to be on the ground one way or the other. You have to hit the ground so you can minimize your impact by bending your knees. Okay? Welcome to Floor Techniques. In this section, I'll talk about exactly what to do directly after a fall, how to check yourself for injuries after a fall, how to roll onto your knees, what to do if you can't roll onto your knees, and how to move on the floor over any surface in any situation. You're on the ground, you're falling, you're down. Okay, now what do we do next? We gotta figure out how to get up, right? Okay, so whatever way you fell, it doesn't matter. Okay, let's say you fell on your stomach. Okay, here's a story for you. Okay, when I was in the 3rd grade, me and my friend Todd went on a 3-wheeling excursion. and I flew through a ditch and into a tree, to make a long story short, and I broke my left leg really badly, my lower leg. The bones were like this. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't feel anything. So here's what I did. As a young man, I felt a little weird, but I got up. And then I stood on the broken leg like this. Now what do you think happened?
Felt the pain?
The bone went boom right through my leg, out the side here, and it had my complete attention. Here's the point for all of you, okay? If you just fell down, that's a fairly intense experience. Okay, so you're on the ground, right? That's intense. The first thing to do is not immediately race to get up. It's look around and make sure no one saw you.
Especially our kids.
Once you realize you're not embarrassed, then you can take a moment, okay? Here's what you want to do. Check yourself, and this is the most important thing about checking yourself, and I hope everyone can see me, is you're giving yourself 15 to 30 seconds to breathe and let your body orient what's happened, get your adrenaline level down, okay? When I fell down and I didn't feel anything, my body, due to shock, was releasing all kinds of opiate-like endorphins into my system, which are painkillers. So sometimes the worse you've been injured, the less you're going to feel right away. So if you've been hurt badly, don't try to get up right away. Take a minute, okay? Falls happen in every direction, in every different kind of environment, and on every different kind of surface. After a hard fall, if you find yourself in a situation where you can't stand up, here's a few important things to remember. If you've been badly injured and you know you need medical attention right away, your first concern should be to try to move in the direction most likely to get you the help you need. Depending on where you are, that could be a phone, a neighbor's door, or a place to flag someone down for help. If you need urgent medical care, you're better off spending your energy getting it as soon as possible, even if that means crawling, scooting, or pulling yourself to get there. If you're not badly injured, but you can't get back up, you should move towards something nearby that you can use to help you. This section will talk about everything you should do immediately after a fall, what to do if you need help, and what to do if you can't get back up. Falling down is an intense experience for the body. Sometimes we don't know just how badly we're hurt until sometime later on. So no matter where you fall, make sure to take a few moments to just breathe and let your heart rate come down so you can check to see if you're injured. If you feel like you might be hurt, taking yourself through a quick injury check can give you a pretty clear indication of whether or not you have any major injuries and exactly where they are. This is important because if you're hurt, you can decrease the chances of making your injuries worse by changing up the way you move on the ground and how you try to stand back up. If you feel like you might be injured, use this list to quickly check your body before you do anything else. Here's the 8-point injury checklist. You're on the ground, you should check yourself first, and there's a little step-by-step thing you can do. After a fall, if you can't get back up, depending on the severity of your injury, the next move comes down to whether or not you need urgent medical care. If you feel like you might have a major leg fracture, for instance, then your first concern, instead of trying to get up, should be trying to get help right away. Your goal should be to move yourself however you can from where you are to a place where you can get the help you need as soon as possible. If you don't feel like you need urgent medical care after a fall, but you can't get back up, your first move should be to try to find something you can use to help yourself stand up. Depending on your environment, that could be moving to a chair, a table, a door, a fence, or even a toilet seat. But how you're able to move on the ground depends on several different things. The surface that you fell on, whether or not you can get to your knees, your physical condition, and where you may have sustained an injury. Change any one of those factors and it might completely change the way you need to move. Up next, I'll show you 3 ways to move on the ground that you can use in just about any situation. Now here's the first thing to do. I would always suggest, if you're not injured or not injured badly, try to get to your knees. It's the best way to move, and it seems to come really naturally for people. Okay? But here's what you're going to do, is a step-by-step, and this is all assuming if you're injured, these are good step-by-step things to remember. Okay? Knees bent, what you want to do is just roll over onto your side. I'm sure you've all seen this at least once or twice. Okay? Top leg over, onto the hands, and then you roll to the hips. Okay? From there, basically, I always suggest, and I'll show you all these techniques in a moment, I always suggest people look for something to help them get up, like a chair. It would be easy enough to just start trying to get up, but if you've taken a pretty good fall, it might be better to look around for something to use. A chair is the easiest thing to use when you go to get up. Let's say that's the only chair in the room.
It's a little far.
That's okay. We're going to crawl to it. Okay? If you've fallen, this is the best thing to do. You're going to crawl to your chair. If you need to move after a fall and you can't get up, crawling might be your best option. If the surface isn't too hard and you're able to get to your knees, try crawling towards something you can use nearby to help you get back up. Remember, if you need urgent medical care, try to crawl to a phone or to alert somebody to help you right away. Now, let's assume I can't get to my knees for some reason. For whatever reason, I don't care if it's knee pain, a broken leg, or whatever else. Okay? What you can do is shuffle to the chair. So if you can't get to your knees, what you can do, if nothing else, generally people aren't going to break both their legs at once. Okay? You can use one leg and scoot. Keep your hands close to your butt. Don't reach way back. You're going to get a lot of friction, and it's going to be a lot more work for you to drag yourself. Put your hands right near your butt. Lift yourself up and push. Push. After a fall, if you can't crawl, you can try scooting. If the ground is hard and you find it difficult getting to your knees, then scooting will be a better option for you. You want to keep your hands close to your hips, lift yourself up with your hands, and then push with your legs at the same time. With this technique, you can move over just about any surface without having to put pressure on your knees. If you have one of your legs injured, you can still scoot effectively on the ground using only one leg and leaving your injured leg straight. for some reason can't even get to your back, or you've sustained a really bad injury back here, you can keep your elbows right next to your belly button, keep your toes down, and you can pull this way. If nothing else, it might be a way to get to a phone or to the front door or to a window where you can yell out. Who knows? But at least you've seen some of the emergency techniques here. In the worst case scenario that you're badly injured and you can't roll over or get to your knees, try to pull yourself along on your stomach. The best way to do that is to pull your arms underneath you so that you're on your forearms and make sure the tips of your toes are down on the ground. Then, staying propped up on your forearms, the easiest way to move is to pull your elbows towards your belly button and push with your toes at the same time. Now, 47% of older adults who've been injured in a fall can't get off the floor by themselves. So I wanted to talk about 2 more falling tips before we move on to the next section: phones and medical alert systems. More than 50% of falling emergencies happen around the house. So the first thing I suggest to have in the home is at least one telephone that's really low to the ground. If you have a low telephone, you'll always be able to reach it if you're on the floor in a falling emergency. We'll talk about medical alert systems in a moment, but even a medical alert system is not designed to work more than about 300 feet from your house. So the best thing you can have for a falling emergency away from home is a cellular phone. Even in the worst case scenario, and you can't move yourself to get help after a fall, a cellular phone will allow you to reach out and alert someone to your situation right away so you can get help as soon as possible. Another good thing to have in place for a falling emergency at home is a medical alert system. Having a medical alert system allows you to push a button anywhere in your home and have help sent to your door when you need it. Especially if you or a family member feel like you're at a higher risk for a fall at home, a medical alert system is a good idea. Here's 6 things to look for before buying a medical alert system. Before buying a medical alert system, make sure the system has a UL listing. A listing from Underwriters Laboratories, or UL, means that the product has been tested and has passed the standards for electrical safety. Number 2 is make sure your system is testable at least once a month to make sure it's working properly. Your system should come with an automatic or a manual testing system for testing at least once every 30 days. Number 3 is to make sure that your system has a battery backup for when the power goes out. Your system should have backup battery power that lasts at least 24 hours if you lose the electricity to your home. Number 4 is to make sure your system has quick response time. The standard response time to your call should be within 60 seconds or less. The quicker the response time, the sooner you get help with your emergency. Number 5 is to make sure your system has its own call monitoring center. When you have an emergency, you don't want your call getting outsourced to a third party. This will usually increase the time it takes until you get help. And number 6 is make sure your system is available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year. The medical alert service you choose should be available at all times. The next section of the Falling Solution system is completely dedicated to getting yourself off the floor or the ground in any situation. Section 4, Fall Recovery Techniques, coming up next.